When Democratic Socialist Milot Kiros, a fierce critic of Israel, won a stunning landslide victory in the Democratic primary over Congresswoman Diana DeGette in Colorado's 1st District, Dr. Shimon Blau rallied the Jewish community to gather signatures to put him on the ballot as an independent. Blau says that Milot Kiros contributes to anti-Semitism and that voters in Denver in November need another choice. While Blau has positioned himself as a moderate and a centrist, our review of more than a decade's worth of online writings by this newcomer to politics paints a different picture. Blau certainly holds liberal views on abortion and gay marriage, but much of his online writings could pass for any right-wing troll, mocking liberals concerned about Donald Trump, opposing Muslim immigration, and sharing far-right tributes to Charlie Kirk. In today's next conversation, I asked Shimon Blau about his claims now that he stood with Denver's progressives, sharing their values and opposing Donald Trump. Have you done anything that we would be able to confirm publicly that shows that you have voiced opposition to the Trump administration?
Not that I can think of.
Okay. But in fact, publicly, you have pushed back on the people who did push back on the Trump administration. When President Trump instituted a so-called Muslim ban in 2017, it blocked travel from several Muslim countries. The president's critics were protesting in airports around the country, and you referred to those protests as, quote, everything that is wrong with liberals on full display.
Yeah.
In fact, your online writings show a decade-plus stream of contempt for liberals, particularly those concerned about Donald Trump. And you're certainly entitled to your views, but now you're telling progressive voters in Denver that you're one of them when your writings for a decade plus show that what you've done is you've mocked them, made fun of them, and made clear that you're not one of them. Who are we to believe?
I mean, I would have to go back and take a look at all of those posts, but definitely my views have changed over years. That's a very, very long time ago. And one of the things about listening and growth is to be able to change one's views on things.
Let's continue to explore those views. So we discussed your opposition to the liberal protests against the Muslim ban. In 2015, you encouraged people to sign a petition against Syrian refugees being allowed into Colorado. That petition called Syrian refugees, quote, at best, a drain on an already strained economy, and at worst, a Trojan horse for radical Islam. What are your views on Muslim immigrants?
I have no problem with Muslim immigrants at all. I think this is a country of immigrants, and immigrants have contributed to our society. I would have to see the context of the time and that post.
You once referred to President Obama as Barack Hussein Obama. That's an obvious anti-Muslim dog whistle. Why do that?
That was not my intention at all, but I did have issues with his relationship with Israel at that time.
Sure, but
I think there was issues with the Iran deal as well, which I did not agree with.
Sure, you would acknowledge that calling him Barack Hussein Obama is, that's pretty obvious anti-Muslim.
That was not my intent.
Right? But they were your words.
Okay, but again, that was not my intent.
Okay. You have described President Barack Obama as the worst president ever. Is that still your view?
I believe that his deal with Iran was very, very bad. I did not agree with him on that.
On the topic of Israel, Shimon Blau sidestepped my questions about U.S. support for Israel. He says that he supports a two-state solution for Israelis and Palestinians, and Blau said he no longer believes what he once wrote, that Palestinians don't deserve their own state. He stood by his statement last year that all American Jews should prepare to leave the U.S. for Israel.